All right, Morgan, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Awesome. Good to be here.
Yeah. How's it going? How are things with your baby?
It's going good. He is 6 weeks old on Sunday, and yeah, we're learning a lot about each other and all the stages of babies.
Totally. Oh, it's so sweet little babies. They're so little and precious at this
Yes.
stage. Well, thanks for taking the time to be on here. I'm so excited to share your story with people. I wonder if you want to start at the beginning when you found out you were pregnant. What was that like?
Yeah, I guess so. My period's always been kind of irregular, and so I didn't actually know I was pregnant until 2-ish months in. And then I took like 7 tests. And then I waited a few weeks and I took some more. And then I told my husband, I was like, yeah, I think I'm pregnant. But I thought the tests were all wrong, but they were all right. I went to the doctor and they were like, yep, definitely pregnant. So then that's when I started learning, I guess, all about babies and pregnancy.
What was like running through your mind when you were getting all those negative tests
Well, they
or
were all
positive tests?
positive
Sorry.
tests, but I was like, "That's definitely wrong. There's no way." I was like, "We can't have kids. There's just no way. It doesn't make any sense." Yeah, I had no idea. I was kind of in denial for the first 5 months of being pregnant, anyways.
But you really came on board like when I met you, you were like ready to start
Right.
working towards preparing.
Yeah, I think so. Because then I was like, all right, well, I should definitely do something about this. Because I know you have to prepare to have a good birth, because I know a lot of people have crazy births, and I just didn't want the pregnancy part to wreck me, I guess, because I already had some sciatic pain and I knew it would get worse with pregnancy. And so then I was like, well, I can either sit around and do nothing, or I can embrace it and kind of like train for it, like you would train for like a marathon. You wouldn't just go and run a marathon. I mean, you could, but you'd be in a lot of pain. So I just kind of thought about it like that.
Yeah, I wonder like where were you when I first met you? Where were you on your birth prep journey? Maybe like to kind of clarify the before and the after. How are you feeling before?
It was probably after I came to the realization that I should start training for birth. But yeah, you came in. I was really happy because I wanted to find a doula. I think I found you online, obviously, somewhere. And I really liked what you were talking about and the way you talked about things. And so I wanted to have you, I guess, on my team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Were there anything specific that you were struggling with beforehand? Struggling with anxiety or fear or like anything like that?
I think the biggest part for me was just the birthing part. And being pregnant was a little hard at the end just because of my back pain and my hips. Everything else was mostly about just like giving birth. Well, just a lot of people have just scared me over the years about giving birth, and understand now why they phrase it the way they do, because I guess once you've given birth, you can kind of like talk to people about it, but it just really scared me, the whole process
Huh.
of getting the baby into the world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so you were just mostly struggling with fear and then like kind of just lack of knowledge around like what to do to prepare, it sounds like.
Yeah, we didn't really know what to do. We now have friends with kids, but I think because we've worked at a school that had a lot of people with kids, I think one of my coworkers just had her baby on Valentine's Day too. So it's just been nice to be able to connect with people with kids and then kind of embrace being a parent.
Yeah, totally. Well, I wonder if you'd be open to sharing like during our sessions and how you felt after working with me. Like, what was the transformation for you?
Yeah, I guess, well, I started off super anxious and kind of freaked out. But after you just kind of educated me on a lot of things, and a lot of times I feel like when I learn about what I need to know, I become less anxious.
Yeah.
It really helped me mentally prepare. It's not just physical, it's also mentally and emotionally. And that's what you taught us. And so that really helped when I was bringing Johnny into the world. So
Yay. Uh-huh. Oh, that's great. I'm so glad I could help. It was really fun to have you in the coaching calls. And I feel like you had the strength, you know, like and the commitment within you to like work towards the birth that you want to have, but you just kind of needed to learn some of those like first time mom things, kind of understanding like how things work and how to best prepare. And once you had that, you were just like ready.
yeah, people don't really teach what actually happens when you give birth, or like why certain things are happening, or they're just like, you get an epidural and you're in there for like 30 hours and you're gonna tear and it's horrible, but
Yeah.
it's not. So I knew it couldn't be bad. There's just no way you can have people giving birth for thousands of years and then all of a sudden we need epidurals
And everybody tears.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you were willing to reject that narrative and write a different story for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you want to take us into the story and tell us what that experience was like. Maybe when you like end a pregnancy or when you like first started thinking you were going into labor, like what was that like?
Yeah, I guess so. The day of my due date, I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to have the baby today. And everyone at work was like, are you going to have your baby today? Why are you still here? And they just get me so anxious. And I thought I was going to go into labor early because I was so active. And all my friends were like, you'll probably go in early. Well, it ended up being a week after like the due date, which is totally fine. And then I had I forgot what you called them.
Oh, prodromal?
The prodromal labor, like a few weeks before. So like in December, the end of December. And I was like, maybe I'm going to go for like Christmas. Maybe I'll have a Christmas baby or stuff like that. And I was kind of just like waiting around. But I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen at the back of my mind. It just, you always kind of hope like maybe I get to meet my baby soon. That'd be cool. And then when it actually happened, it was like at 1 a.m. And I definitely felt a different change in the prodromal labor. I was like, okay, this has to be it. I can't sleep through these beginning contractions. And then I kind of did like some meditation, which you kind of taught us, like the tapping. And then I also listened to hypnobirthing on Spotify, I guess, and just kind of like set my mind right for a little bit. And then when it kind of geared up, I called you and I was like, hey, should we go to the hospital now? And you were like, well, it sounds like you're at the start of in between the early stages and then active labor. And so then we actually drove to the hospital and then drove back home. And then when we got everything we forgot the first time, we're like, okay, now it's really gearing up. And then we got to the hospital and I couldn't talk then. So Andrew was talking for me and ended up being 7 centimeters dilated. And the doctor who saw me was like, yes, you came to the hospital to have a baby. She was so excited. And she was like, I love natural moms. And so she helped me a lot through it. Basically, the active labor to the pushing part, the transition, I guess, phase, happened really quickly. And I think that would have been good to have a different way. I was like, because I tried to do like this exaggerated side lying, but then immediately it like switched to the pushing part. And so I didn't really have time to flip all the way over. But it was really nice too because Andrew was a part of the whole thing. So we brought the 10 pads unit to put on like my back, and we had heating pads, and he had the technique that you taught us. Mm-hmm. And then the nurses also knew how to do it, so they like just corrected him if he was a little bit off. It was really good. It was really good. And then when Johnny came out, he came out like all his hair and his shoulders all at the same time, which is a little crazy. And then everything was good from there.
So he came out like in one push, head and body. Yes. Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Were you in side lying position when you delivered him?
Yeah. I ended up flipping on my back, and I was kind of on my right side, but it felt really uncomfortable to be on my side. I should have flipped over, but I didn't have, like, the contractions were like back to back pretty much.
Yeah. It sounds like he just came out super fast. How long did you push for?
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's so fast. How long was your whole labor?
Well, the early part started at like 1 a.m., but around 4 p.m. is when the active part started, and then he was born at 9. Wow. So we didn't get to the hospital until like 6:30.
Wow, so 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My first was 5 hours too in active labor, and also like pushed pretty quickly. And yeah, when it happens fast, it can be really wild, and sometimes it can be hard to catch your breath when contractions are so back to back. Yeah, you can feel kind of stuck. Sounds like that kind of happened.
Kind of crazy fast because the first part was so slow. I was like, oh, I'll have time to breathe, and then I did breathe and I was able to get through it. They threw a curveball on me, so I guess I should have read my health chart, but I had GBS and I didn't know, and so when I got there, they're like, well, you need an IV. And I was like, what? And basically, by the time I only got the base dose, I guess it's called. And then I don't even think it got into Johnny. So we had to stay an extra day. in case he had any symptoms.
Wow, that's wild that they didn't tell you that you had GBS. And you were 41 weeks, so they had plenty of time because they test you at like 36 weeks. So
Yeah,
that's disappointing. So you couldn't really make an informed decision about the antibiotics
right.
beforehand. Yeah, or use that information to help you decide when to go and when your water broke. Because your water broke before going into labor, right?
It broke at like 9 a.m.
Okay.
I didn't know it was like a piece of a water balloon. Like I had a little bit left when I was in the pushing phase too.
Yeah, a little more water like popped.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting how that can happen. I feel like my water broke 3 times in my third birth because, like, at the beginning, I felt the tiniest little gush, like a couple nights before he was born. It was so tiny, like maybe I peed myself a little bit. And I checked it with a nitrazine paper, like the pH paper, to see if it
Oh, that's
was my
cool.
water. Yeah, it's just as a student midwife, I already had some. It probably wasn't good because I was kind of obsessively like checking all the time. But I had like such a tiny amount of water come out, and I was like, oh, maybe my water's broken. I waited a couple days. I never had like just was like the same as vaginal discharge. Like there was never any really trickle or gush or anything like that. It was so tiny. So my midwife was like, it's probably that one layer broke and there was a little bit of water in between the layers that separated, but the other layer's intact because I just had the tiniest bit of water come out and then like nothing else was coming out. But I decided just to induce naturally at home just in case it was broken. I didn't really want to go to the hospital and get tested for that. I
Yeah.
could have, but I was like, what? I'll just go into labor. I'm ready. And then in labor, I had a little pop and some water like trickled down my thigh. And then like right before the baby came out, right before I started pushing, there was a huge like explosion of water and it was
Yeah,
like gushing everywhere.
that's kind of how it happened. I was like, part of it was just like, yeah, it was kind of cool. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Women's bodies are crazy.
I know our bodies are so crazy.
No idea.
Yeah, that's so wild. So do you think when your water broke, do you think it was one layer or was it like quite a lot of water and you feel like it was both layers, but it just kind of stopped and broke somewhere else later, maybe?
I think it was both layers because it was a lot. Like I had to have a
Yeah.
towel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It was both layers then. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, when I got there, they were like, yeah, just little pieces blocking them. In order to get them out, like, you're going to have to push that part out. And then, yeah, it was like huge gush.
Wow. So you like actively pushed and it made it like pop.
Yeah, which I knew I didn't have to do that, but it was just really hard. I just was just doing whatever they were coaching me to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I know when you're so vulnerable, it can be hard to say, like, I want to do a different thing. And also, it's
yeah.
okay to do what they coach you to do if that's what you want and that's what feels right in the moment. And it sounds like that was the right thing, like everything unfolded well. Are you feeling weird about it now looking back? Or do you feel good about
No,
it?
I don't feel weird. I guess I do think, though, that my position would have definitely helped me if I had gotten to the correct one at the correct time. But Andrew did notice when I changed sounds, I guess, like just breathing through, and then all of a sudden it was just like push. Like you could just like feel a big difference. And so, yeah, I think if what would be nice is next time if we have another kid, then I would have like a midwife or somebody there, doula, because the doctors had left to go check somebody else. So he was just in there with me. And I feel like I love my husband. I just don't know if he knew, he's not an expert at birth. He ended up calling them to come in, but by then it was just, it happened so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that makes sense. How would you describe your birth experience? Like, do you feel like it was a positive experience and like you had what you wanted, or like how would you describe it?
Oh, yeah. No, that was a great birth experience. And I also really don't like to have a lot of medicine either. So it was really good. And then I did the Pitocin in my leg, like the shot that I think you kind of you said that you liked to have it to help with the bleeding. Yes. I did that afterwards and it was kind of crazy. I know people say like the shakes or whatever, but I didn't realize like your whole body, like the hormones just like drop and you're just like shaking. And I kept apologizing. They're like, oh, it's normal. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But it was cool to be able to be so aware of everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like painful. I guess just the part where they're like coming out and it's affecting your tailbone. But other than that, it was cool. It was like purposeful movement in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that you don't really feel like your birth was painful, but like just intense in general?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's how I felt my first was too. It wasn't pain. It was just like it was very intense, but it wasn't pain. What did you tear too? I wanted to ask.
I did, but I only needed like 2 stitches.
Oh, so like a tiny little.
Yeah, like a little tiny one.
Uh
And
huh.
she was like, basically, it only needs really one, but she did two because it was a little bit farther back than she thought it was originally. But she said it was a first degree,
Uh huh.
so it's pretty good.
Okay.
And
Okay.
she used, like mineral oil when he was coming out, I guess. And then she was like, "You have to listen to me. You have to hold. Like you can't keep pushing. I know it's gonna be painful." And then she did a really good job too, because at one point she was like, "Don't lose it." It was really funny. She did a really good job.
That's great. That's hilarious. I'm going to use that with
Yeah,
someone. Don't lose it.
yeah. It's like, stay with me. Like you got this. You've come this far. And so that really helped like reel me back in because I was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I just went to a birth a couple days ago and the mom looked at me and right when the baby was coming out and she was like, "I'm going to shit myself." And I was like, "That's your baby." And then
Yeah.
she was like kind of grunting, pushing. And I was like, "Hold that pressure, like go nice and slow, you know?" And
Yeah.
afterwards, she told me, she was like, "When you said that, I was like, I don't care. I want to get this baby out." It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally understand. Like that kind of goes out the window and you're just like, get this baby out of me. But it sounds like you got some good support with like going slow with the delivery of his head,
You
which is great.
definitely want to push something.
Yeah, you want to push it out. I know.
Yeah, you're like, get it out. It's so weird. It feels so crazy.
Did anything help you in that moment? Like, did you do any kind of breathing or like anything like that to help?
We did breathing. Andrew had the TENS pad and stuff on my back, but ended up not really needing like any kind of pressure, when they're coming out. And then mentally, I just kept telling myself, like, just keep opening up and breathe. Like, don't push them out. Just relax and try to relax myself so it wasn't so crazy. Just like mentally telling myself and just repeating the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my vagina is huge, is kind of what I kept saying. Or just like really, like, it's super stretchy, just kind of like stuff like that. So then that way, because I feel like that's why I went into the transition so fast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like the affirmations really helped you
Yeah.
in that moment. Yeah, totally. I was the same with my second, especially when my husband was like, go slow, go slow, go slow. I was like, okay, I can go slow. It was really helpful just to like have that phrase that you're repeating again and again in your head because it gives you something to focus on. It can be super helpful. Oh, well, that's great. I'm so glad that you had a good birth. How was your like hospital stay and immediate postpartum and all of that?
Yeah, I think, well, that was a little overwhelming for me, but just because, well, they give you all the things, but you're in the hospital bed and they wake you up every few hours, checking in on you, making sure Johnny was okay, because he could also have had jaundice and then also the GBS. That was a lot. And I think we had to stay 2 days and it felt like a week. Other than that, I think it'd been better to just be at home, but I think they did a really good job at the hospital. They had a lot of different people help us out and give us suggestions whenever we had no idea really how intense the first few days are. You know how intense they are, but you don't know how they are because you haven't felt them before and been so tired and physically exhausted. So it was good. And then my mom stopped by to help. So that was really nice.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you had good support. I know it's crazy in the beginning. It's like really hard to be fully prepared for that reality because it can be pretty arms full, especially with like the being in a space that's not yours and all of that. It feels really good to like when you get home and you can kind of settle in to your own space.
Yeah, we both cried. We were so happy. Oh my God, we're home.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything about postpartum, anything else that you want to share? What did you do with your placenta?
Well, I ended up not doing anything with it this time. My sister was kind of bummed. She was like, "Why didn't you keep it?" I was gonna keep it. We did the delayed cord clamping, which was cool. So we like got to hold him on me, and then we had the placenta, and then eventually over time, like Andrew got it cutted, which is cool. Which I guess they usually do get it cutted. I think next time I would like to do something with it. I think this time I was just trying to focus on a few things, I guess, with the birth, because everything was so new. But now I have a greater understanding of because I don't do well when I have too many options, I guess. And I didn't know if I should freeze it and then like, eat it over time. But I ended up just getting vitamins this time because our freezer was actually super full with all my prepped food.
Yeah, totally.
And we ended up having a crazy, like, last month of pregnancy for me. We ended up moving houses, and it was the holidays. Yeah, so it was a lot. I didn't want to use that part of my brain for thinking about what do I do? How do I eat it? How do I tell Andrew how to make stuff out of it?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's sometimes better to just make things simpler in the beginning. My second and third baby, their placenta is still in my freezer, and they're 2.5 and 1.5, and we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna bury it, but I think we're wanting to move to land here in the next year or two. I think I'll just keep it frozen in my freezer until then, and then we'll like bury it with a tree, is kind of what we're thinking. So,
That's so sweet. Yeah. I think I would do something like that. I think that'd be good.
yeah, it's fun to do something if you want to, but it's really like, it's up to you, you know. I wish there
Well,
was
it's
more.
beautiful. I think too, once the placenta left me too, when I was pregnant, I just felt so zoned out and like kind of daisy. And then when the placenta came out, I was like, whoa, I feel like myself again. It was kind of crazy.
Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah, the placenta is what's signaling your body to produce all those hormones. So as soon as it's detached, your hormones crash. And some funny, like some people do way better in pregnancy and other people do way worse, and then they feel so much better afterwards. So yeah, that's wild. I'm glad you're feeling better though. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it felt great. I was like, whoa, I feel like the whole fog has lifted.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you had a good birth. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice? Like if there is a first time mom that was listening to this and has no idea like where to start preparing for birth?
I guess there's a few things is so to just stay active, like walking or anything to keep your cardio up. I think that really helps. And then the meditation slash learning how to like mentally prepare your mind, because I think a lot of times birth is a lot of mental, and then emotionally, like you said too, and how you trained yourself, emotionally. And you said like on your third birth, you weren't emotionally ready for some of it to happen. So it's good to like definitely prepare yourself for that. And then I guess the last thing was just something silly a little bit, but compression socks really helped me through pregnancy because I did not think my ankles could get that swollen, but it really helps like keep the blood circulating. And then I had a lot of like hip pain, so at the hospital they gave me like a little walker. So if you're at home, I'd probably need one if I ever went at home. The TENS pad, yeah, it's magical.
Yeah, the TENS unit in labor.
Yeah.
Did you get a wireless one or did you have just like a regular?
It's just a regular one. I ended up getting it a few years ago for Andrew because I danced. So I went to a dance conference and they had them for sale and bought them because Andrew was having some back pain, and then ended up using it for pregnancy too. Yeah. So it's very useful. I think, yeah, the electric one was really good. No cordless.
Yeah, the cordless.
Because it kind of gets, if you flip positions, it gets a little twisted.
Totally. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of research on the TENS unit being effective for reducing pain. I never used it in any of my births. I didn't really have a lot of back discomfort. So, yeah, I didn't really feel like, and in the moment, I honestly forgot about it. Each time I just like completely forgot about it. But I'm kind of curious to know like what that would be like, to have that in labor. So that's awesome. I'm glad that helped. And yeah, thanks so much. Those are like really good tips. Is there anything else that you want to add? Do you feel good?
I guess just get as much information as you can. You'll end up knowing what to do when you get there. Because I think a lot of times too, I just like educated myself on your course and what you were saying to me. And then when it happens, and then you just keep practicing mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And then when it actually happens and you're in that position that you're talking about, you don't know what it's like until you're doing it. And so it's really helpful to understand like the differences and everything. And it was very helpful too because I was like, oh, okay, I'm in early labor now. And then I had no idea what it felt like to be in active labor versus like, okay, I need to go to hospital labor. It was just nice to know the differences in that, because I think a lot of times people just like get the early labor stages and then they're like, yeah, just go to the hospital. and then you wait in the hospital for 30 hours. Yeah, it was really good. Everything that you taught us, super helpful, and just educate yourself as much as you can, because unless you have people who give birth frequently, people don't talk about it. They don't talk about all the things unless, yeah, they just kind of tell you either horror stories. No one really tells you the good stuff.
I know, it's really unhelpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I like to create, in the group, like a space where we can talk about birth positively and like kind of uplift each other. I think that can be really helpful just to like be part of a conversation regularly where we're like really, discussing how great birth can be and giving you tools to like kind of put your mind towards that place instead of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and even those positions too that you're talking about, those spinning babies, like I did those pretty much every night.
That might have been why your birth was so fast.
Yeah, I did everything. I was like, anytime people tell me, and then my mom too was telling me she did the mile circuit, so then I started doing that too. So I did spinning babies, mile circuit, and then just like gentle movements and stretches and lots of cardio walking, just lots of walking.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
that's great. Yeah, so sounds like all that movement and positions and stretches like really helped your birth be smooth.
yeah.
Because 5 hours is pretty fast for a first time mom.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It felt It felt like a long time because of the 1 a.m. thing.
Yeah. Yeah, with my second birth, I woke up at 1 a.m. too with contractions and had to wake up for each one. And then I was like that all day. And I went into labor at 6 p.m. that night, but then the labor was 2 hours. So just
Oh,
spent a
nice.
lot of time in early labor and then had a really fast active. And sometimes that's how it works.
That's kind of what you want, though. I guess that sounds good.
It was good. Yeah. It was like intense 2 hours, but it was a really great birth. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yay. Okay, Morgan. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to share your story with us. I so appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And all
Yay.
your training and training. That's been great.
Oh, good. Yay. I'm so glad.